Dream Children by Charles Lamb. The writer Charles Lamb is a writer who deals a lot with stories for the children. He as a child had lived a solitary life, someone who enjoyed alone time rather than hanging out with friends. And in this story, Dream Children, a Reverie, he relives some of the most memorable and cherished moments of his childhood by narrating it to the little children John and Alice. Now, a reverie means a daydream. In this reverie, he saw that he had two little children, John and Alice. The narrator begins by saying that children love to listen to the stories, especially the stories of the past and stories of their parents when they were children. Why do children love to listen to the stories of elders when they were children? To stretch their imagination to the stories of the traditionary great uncles and great dame, and to know about the stories of their ancestors whom they never saw. It was in this kind of mood that the two little children, John and Alice, crept up to the narrator, their father, asking him to tell the story of their great-grandmother Field, who lived in a great house in Norfolk. The narrator had in the past told them stories about these two little children whose parents died and had a very cruel uncle who left them to die in the woods. He had told them about how these interesting stories were carved out on a wooden chimney, but later on a rich man came and brought down the whole wooden chimney full of stories and replaced it with a white marble that had nothing written on it. But the individuality of these two imaginary children is brought to life by explaining and expressing how these children reacted to whatever the narrator said. So in this case, when the narrator said that this beautiful wooden carved chimney was brought down and replaced with a white marble that had nothing on it, little John smiled as if to say, that would be foolish. And he went on to tell them that great-grandmother Field was a religious woman, such a good and kind woman who knew the whole book of Psalms by heart, and also that she memorized many parts of the Testament, the Bible. The individuality of little Alice is also brought out by the way she, spread her hands to think that, that's so exciting. When we tell stories to little children, we can see whether they're excited to hear our stories and whether they are expanding their imagination by the way they show in their facial expression and in their body language. So Charles Dickens in this story brings about all the expression of Alice and John to show their individuality. When little Alice spread her hands, it meant to show that she too wanted to be kind and good and religious, just like their great-grandmother Field. He went on to tell them that their great-grandmother Field was a tall, upright, and beautiful woman. She was such a graceful person and was considered to be the best dancer in the county. On hearing this, again Alice moved her right foot to express her excitement. Great-grandmother Field was such a brave woman that she would see two apparitions, two spirits of children moving up and down the stairs, and she was not scared at all. And she would say that these two little spirits would do her no harm. They were innocent spirits. But on the other hand, when the narrator heard about these two little children going up and down the stairs at midnight, he felt afraid because he was not as half religious as the grandmother, or he was not half good as the grandmother. And we know when little children hear stories they love to hear about horror stories and all. They feel scared, but then they love to hear. And when they hear, they raise their eyebrows and try to keep their eyes big to show that they are not scared. At this point, little John also raised his eyebrow to express that he was being brave. Their great-grandmother was a very good and kind woman, brave and respectable woman that even the rich and the poor, the near ones and the far ones, everyone came when she died. She was also a religious woman who knew the whole book of Psalms by heart and a great part of the Testament. She was a tall and upright woman and esteemed to be the best dancer in the county. She was also brave because she saw the two apparitions, two spirits running up and down the stairs, but she was never scared. And she also loved all her grandchildren alike. But her favorite one was Uncle John L., the narrator's brother, because he was the eldest of them all. And later on she died because of cancer. But the narrator tells the two children that she was such a high-spirited woman, such a good woman that yes, cancer brought her physical body down, but it could never break her spirit. He goes on to tell the children that as a little boy, he was a solitary type who loved to roam around the big house, roam around the gardens and look at the flowers and fruits and trees. He used to watch the stone carvings of the 12 Caesars, 12 kings of ancient Roman Empire, and he would look at those statues and stare at them until after some time it looks like those stone statues start to turn into real people, or sometimes he was scared that he might turn into marble himself. Those are some kind of typical child's imagination, how our imagination as children gets wild. He told them that his brother, their Uncle John L., was Mrs. Field's favorite grandchild because he was so handsome, so high-spirited, and a king to the rest of the grandchildren. Instead of moping around in solitary like the narrator, he would mount on the most mettlesome horse, ride half over the county and join the other hunters. This John L. was such a responsible person, almost an adult, so brave, so handsome, and so strong that later on when his brother, the narrator, broke his foot and became lame-footed, he would carry the narrator, his brother, on his back and walk for miles without complaining. But later on in life, after they grew up, Uncle John L. became lame-footed. Because of some injuries, the doctor had to amputate his leg, cut off his leg. And the narrator tells the children that he regrets that when Uncle John L. was alive, when your Uncle John L. was alive, I did not do enough to help him like he helped me during my childhood when I was lame-footed. He told them how he regretted for being so thoughtless and did not help his brother enough. Now the two brothers had great love for each other. Their brotherly love was great. And of course, yes, like any other brothers, they had their differences. They quarreled and irritated one another. But when Uncle John L. died, the narrator said that it felt like forever. It felt like it had been a long time ago that he had died. And then he wished that his brother John L. would come back to life, only just to quarrel. Even if they did not have any good thing to do, he just wished he was back just to quarrel with him. He understood the deep gap, the big gap between life and death that could never be filled up. Now when the children heard about the sadness of their father, they started to cry and then they prayed to their father, please stop the story and why don't you tell us something about our pretty dead mother. So he went on to tell about their pretty dead mother, whose name was also Alice W.N. He told them about how he desperately and continuously courted Alice W.N. for 7 years and how she was so shy. And the shyness or coyness in a lady was a plus point. The ladies were supposed to be coy. And yes, I think when a girl is shy, she looks pretty. You know, a woman being so direct. Shy is cute. And when he was talking about the pretty dead mother, and suddenly he looked at the two children, and when he saw little Alice, he thought that this little Alice started looking like the mother Alice. And as he tried to get a better look at her, the children grew fainter and fainter until he could see only two mourning figures far away. They were not speaking, but he seemed to hear as if these two children were saying, "We are not your children, nor of Alice." Alice is married to Bartram, and her children calls Bartram as their father. We are nothing, we're just dreams, we don't even exist. And we will have to wait for millions of ages on the shores of the mythical river Lit until we even start to exist in the real world. And his dream ended there. On waking up, he found himself sitting on his bachelor's chair, which means that he is unmarried. He realized that it was all a reverie, a daydream, and his sick sister, whom he calls faithful Bridget, was beside him. But his brother John L., or James Elia, was gone forever. He died, and the chapter ends there. That was a brief explanation on the lesson Dream Children, a Reverie by Charles Lamb. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.